Well, hello there, Zill enthusiasts, and welcome to another edition of my Zill Hero Interviews, a series of interviews where I talk to people who are movers and shakers, playing the finger cymbals and inspiring others to do the same. I am so excited about this interview. I will be speaking with the incredible Mesmera, and I had not had the opportunity to connect with her or meet her before this interview, but time and time again when I would speak to people about who influenced their Zill playing and their belly dance, they would mention Mesmera's name. And so I just knew I had to meet this woman. And oh my goodness, am I so glad that I did. If you know her, you already love her. And if you don't know her, I am very excited to introduce you to her. She is a beautiful soul, an amazing woman. She has an incredible history with the dance and a beautiful story about how she was introduced to the finger cymbals. I absolutely love the methodology which she uses to teach and the way she views the cymbals as the beautiful musical instrument that they are. I think you're really gonna enjoy this interview. She is a bundle of energy and so much fun to talk to. Be sure you stay on until the very end and you will see a clip of her doing the finger cymbals like only she knows how to do. So now please welcome, for this incredible finger cymbal hero interview, the amazing Mesmera.
All right, thank you so much, Mesmera, for being here. I am so excited to actually get to talk with you and really meet you for the first time. Your name has come up so many times in so many conversations about fabulous finger cymbal players. And so I am thrilled that you have joined me. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation for this interview.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. I love the opportunity to kind of put heads together between people who are really into finger cymbals. And I see you as kind of a pioneer of the art form. I know you released your instructional video, years before anyone else was really thinking about this sort of thing. And I would love to hear more. And so people can get to know you better, those of you who know you and those of you who aren't as familiar with your work. How did you get started with finger cymbals and how did they become, I don't know if obsession is the right word. That's what I use when I talk about myself. How did they become the passion, perhaps, that they are for you today?
Thank you for asking. It started with actually my teacher who played finger cymbals. So when I was studying here in Los Angeles in the Hollywood area, I was also taking acting classes, and I decided to bring in, that we were all asked to bring in some outside talent. And I brought in a little poetry to read, but another student in my acting class came in suddenly carrying a boombox and full belly dance outfit, and she was playing finger cymbals. Well, she disappeared, but I found her teacher, and I started studying with her teacher, Gina Reno, and Gina had studied back east with Marta Zorina, who is playing for Angels, and she had actually taught Bobby Farah private classes, and so Ibrahim Farah had gone to Marta Zorina. Gina has studied with Marta, and Gina moved west to Los Angeles, and I found her and studied with her for a while. She played cymbals beautifully, and I just assumed that was what we must do, and there was no avoiding. Although I will say that she didn't really start it for a couple of months, and I thought I was gonna be the greatest belly dancer ever until those finger cymbals showed up. And it really chilled my enthusiasm. I mean, it slowed me down, but I was challenged, and I thought, nope, the true belly dancer has the veil of mystery and finger cymbals. So I was determined to chime in, and so I studied hard.
I love that you have mentioned this because I feel like this story is common where dancers get a taste of the dance. They get pretty good with the dancing. And if they don't have finger cymbals as an element of their practice right away and then it's introduced, there's this immediate like pull back from it because it makes the basics hard again because you're trying to make music while you dance. And so how did you, to encourage others who find themselves in a similar predicament, how did you kind of get over that and decide, okay, I understand this is going to be take me back a moment and I'm going to have to rebuild up as I'm learning this new skill. How did you manage to convince yourself that that is an okay thing?
Passion for the dance to start with. That's the main one, just pure desire spurring me on. However, I had a big breakthrough with percussionist. And a friend of mine was a drummer, not a belly dance drummer, but like a studio drummer and a wonderful conga player. And Brent Lewis, he's kind of famous actually now. And back then, he told me something that was so helpful and has become part of my teaching practicum. And it was simply that, well, first of all, how to count the music: one, two, three, four, one and two and three and four, and a one and a two and a three and a four, etc. One E and a two E and a three E and a four. But the simple part of it was about walking. So I'm going to step back and demonstrate. He said to me, people don't walk like birds, dot, 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 on the beach or wherever. We have a really steady gait. And so our walk is our own natural metronome in a sense. And so if you can walk a steady gait, not stop, start, uneven, but a steady, normal walking gait, it's one, two, three, four, one and two and three and four, and step, 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 step. And then from that, I got this method of matching the syllables of the action to the beat. So instead of saying, for a hip drop, for example, and a lift, oh, and a drop, instead of saying and a one and a two, I just would describe it as I was teaching and practicing as well. And a lift and a drop, and a lift and a drop, 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 and a one, and a two, and a three, and a four. Take a step and a touch. Take a step and a touch. Step and a touch. One and a two. Three, let's dance.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. You're speaking my language and I'm loving you more every minute for it. It's so good. I love that you have this musician style of counting, right? Because I feel like traditionally when I learned Zills and a lot of other dancers in the States learn, we're taught with like a very different form of counting that is not in line with the music and not in line with the way that musicians count, which can sometimes create challenges and problems later on. But I love that you found a way to kind of bridge that gap. Yes, you know the and a one and a two and a three, but you can also like verbalize it in a way that someone who doesn't have that musical background is going to slowly like absorb the counting, but understand it as it relates to their dancing as well.
Describing the action, because the whole body can respond to that. And a twist and a back and a lift and a drop, and a one and a two and a three and a four. So it really can match, even like with the shimmies: one E and a two, three E and a four, teka teka tek, teka teka tek. So shimmy shimmy side, shimmy shimmy side. So if you can match the same number of verbal syllables that describe the action to what the counting of a percussionist who's trained and knows how to count. Thank heavens you're mentioning the thing about the difference between just belly dance talk for Zills, finger cymbals, and how musicians count, because that's how music is made. As I read it, and I find that method more usable, more solid, more applicable across many styles of music, and it also is the way that we choreograph. So in order to be able to count and understand where one is important for dancers, with or without Zills. We got to know where one is. And if you know where one is, you know where five is, and you know where the end of the measure is, and you start to be able to understand the different rhythms for Middle Eastern dance, and that's important.
That is so true. I think that, yeah, while the counting, I always say, you know, if you have a method of counting that's working for you and you're learning, like that's a very good thing. But if people can take the time to learn this, I call it the musician counting method because it's the counting method musicians use. It's going to help you understand the music better, notate the rhythms better. And you're right, I never thought about it in that when we learn a choreography or teach a choreography, that's how we're counting it, right? So why have more than one counting method in your head when you can do it musically the whole way through. I love that idea.
And then what happens to these dancers when a 9/8 or a 6/8 comes along and they're trying to count it in fours and they're just like, where's the one? Where's the one? It's really important to know where one is.
Yes, yes, definitely for the dance and for the finger cymbals for sure. And so you fell in love with it. You had the passion for the dance and you used the finger cymbals throughout. How do you find they incorporate into your dancing now? Obviously, you teach them to your students. What would you say is sort of stylistically the way that you enjoy using your finger cymbals most?
I really like using them like a highlighter. Think about a book with written language, and you come in with this beautiful highlighter, your color choice, of course. But you highlight the language that you want to stand out. So when we use the finger cymbals, we are able to highlight with a sound the movement that we want to stand out. Da 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 da. So if you really are experiencing a moment in the music where there's a lot of feeling, or where there's an intensification, or where there's some heavy Egyptian beats that are marvelous and you really want to highlight that with your movement, you can bring that up and make it even more visible. So the finger cymbals not only reflect more in terms of inner feeling quality, but also they serve to really brighten and highlight the action. Well, I'd like to just back up to what trained me in this. And that is early on, I started out doing bellygrams. It was a new thing. And here in Los Angeles was an amazing place to be doing them, because you would get sent to TV shows and you'd get sent to famous people's homes, and the bellygram was a big popular item. And with the bellygram, I had a drummer and my zills. So with those two instruments, there was the possibility of a lot more expression and variety. So it encouraged me to fill in, to become the melody sometimes as well as the rhythm. And so I needed, because of that, to develop patterns and a versatility with patterns, and not only patterns, but tonality. So instead of clack, 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 forever, clack, clack, clack a clack, clack a clack, which can actually like drive me out of the room because it's so constant, it's like Zill torture. I really like to hear some changes, because there are subtleties in the music and there are beautiful little edge tones for that. And there are strong flat hits, and then are melodic influences that are light, where maybe we want a ringing tone, or perhaps there's an undulation that doesn't feel so sharp. So the ringing tone has resonance, da da da, and it resonates a little bit, and you can leave that open, and the resonance fills the space on your finger cymbals, so that we get and there's an after sound that is lovely and goes with the type of movement that you can use it with. It's not a rule, but you develop certain preferences. I'm not suggesting that we only play a ringing tone when we're undulating, because that's not true. But there are certain times where ringing just feels right for the move or for the music, and other times where flat tone seems to be a good time to change the soundscape to a flat tone. And I really like the little edge tones, the little ticking on the edge tones, for more subtle movements, especially, if you're dancing live close to people at a party or at a restaurant and you don't want to blow them out. You go to a more subtle, soft tone, that's the edge tone. If there's little shimmies and a texture change, then the little edge tones can be just perfect for that, because it speaks of a tonal texture that matches what we're seeing. So dancers are just, the art here is bringing the sound and the visual together, and really, moving in a way that captures the sound well and is transportive for not only the dancer, but the audience too. So it's very engaging to be able to add sound to what is being seen.
Yes. Oh, and I love the passion that you have for the art, like shines through in the way that you talk about it. And so you're saying when you did these bellygrams back in the day, there was no recorded music. It was you, your drummer, and your finger cymbals. So by necessity, you had to create a melodic invention with these two mostly percussive instruments because there was no DJ iPod, there to turn on to play the music for you.
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. Well, it's necessity is
And
the
our
mother of
drum
invention,
boxes were
right?
so big back in those days, remember? Here's my boom box now.
Isn't it amazing? Right. No, back in the day, they were like too heavy to lug around, right? You had to plug it in somewhere. And oh my goodness. No, for
Oh,
sure.
did we ever? I taught for a long time over at LA City College through community services, and I was always going upstairs to the upstairs dance studios with that big boom box. It was the hardest part of the class. I was sure my arm was going to be 5 feet long.
It was your warm up, lifting weights on your way to class. Oh my goodness. I love that. I think knowing that that's how you approach the finger cymbals and that was sort of the situation in which you were playing. Absolutely, you're going to end up playing and inventing and using more sounds and using the true melodicness of the cymbal because you're it. You and that drummer have to create the entire soundscape. And that's it's daunting and incredibly powerful that you can, right? That's even possible.
Think about performance dynamics too. Just your presence as far as charisma and presence and liveliness and playfulness and magnetic attraction to what's going on. Suddenly there's an elevation with Zills. You're not just, I don't mean to be diminutive, you're not simply a dancer who's gorgeous and fabulous, decked out in fabulous costumes, doing fabulous moves, but you're also a musician because you're playing. And I found that I danced for many, many years at a wonderful Moroccan restaurant up on Sunset Boulevard. It's closed now. It was called Dar Maghreb. It means Moroccan house. And it was like a little Moroccan palace. And we would get all kinds of people through there. And it was a famous place. And it attracted many stars and producers, etc. So besides this, there were also families who were very conservative, and they kind of like, whoa, here's this woman and she's bare midriff and she's coming to our table. And the finger cymbals served as a focal point, which they respected very much as musical ability, and they could focus on that. And as soon as I would notice that, I would begin to play more ardently and do movements that were maybe a little more what they would appreciate and not feel like, our kids are here, my wife is here, my grandmother's here. So the finger cymbals were also a way to take attention off of at that time. Well, I'm talking 80s. I started in 75. Okay, everyone, you will forget that. I started in 75, and so by the 80s, I was playing well and working a lot. And so I noticed that belly dance was still a hot topic for a lot of people. If they asked you, what do you do for a living? You said, oh, I'm a belly dancer and I teach and perform. They would, this kind of embarrassed little giggle would happen and like, or eyes would roll or like look away or so. At that time, it wasn't like it is now where everyone's grandmother, aunt, or cousin, or someone has someone in the family that's been a belly dancer or has studied belly dance. It's so, my dreams have come true, first of all. We're like worldwide, nearly. We have to keep going because we will be, and that'll be even better. But anyway, at that time, it was still a very controversial subject and very provocative for some people. And I would tone down and class things up by diverting attention to musical prowess of the finger cymbals.
Ah, that's interesting. I can see that. I mean, it's like fortunate you had the ability, unfortunate that we have to navigate people's misconceptions that way, but what a powerful place to be able to sort of change focus and create your show in a way that you know is sort of catering to your audience, which we always have to do as a performer, right? As an artiste, we put what we want on the stage, but then when we go and dance at someone's, birthday party or wedding, whatever, we are a performer that has to entertain the crowd that is in front of us, and reading them and figuring out what we need to do to make the show palatable and enjoyable for them is a huge skill.
Art of entertainment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. It's so interesting to hear like how you've approached it and how you've used the finger cymbals. I think about that too. Like so much of my early, like quote unquote, a cappella finger cymbal work was when I was at a restaurant and the sound system stopped working. And I was like, all right, folks, here we go. Luckily I always had those finger cymbals on. And so I would complete my show a cappella, because it was that or dance to no music, which nobody likes doing, right? And so it was powerful to be able to do it. And I thank my lucky stars all the time that I knew how to play so that I could do that.
Did you have a musical background?
I do, yes. I played the flute for many years, and I'm also a singer. And so that has totally informed the way that I play the finger cymbals. Absolutely.
Bravo. I did not have any of that. I played no musical instruments and was not a singer, although I fantasized plenty of times about that in another life, maybe. Anyway, you're so right. I can think of times when I was dancing at an event, and a large event where someone kicks the plug out of the wall because it's that crowded. There goes the music, there goes the cassette player, and suddenly there you are with nothing. And instead of a pantomime, as you well know, you can give yourself that beat and you can fill in. And so I have an exercise that I like to do in my intermediate and advanced classes where I have the dancers just dance to their own zills. This is something that you've had to do a lot as a professional, and me too. There are times where you're booked in a certain situation where there's just no music at all, but you need to chime in, and you want to chime in with Middle Eastern rhythms, and we can play Belody, Shiftatelli, we can play 9/8, 6/8, we can vary the rhythms. There's so much we can do besides just keeping a 2/4 or 4/4 beat. And to be able to have that and be able to respond to it is marvelous. I like to share that with my students and that ability, because it does really step up their talent and what they're able to choose to express in their dancing.
Absolutely. That's powerful. And so I'm curious, like, from one instructor to another, because we do a lot of a cappella finger cymbal work in my classroom as well. And there's always that moment of terror in people's eyes before they start. What are some ways that you give people sort of building blocks or stepping stones, or a way to get into this that doesn't feel like you've just been thrown into the finger cymbal deep end? Like what kind of advice would you give to people wanting to be able to create their own music?
Well, first of all, we've had music to play to, and you've got a foundation. It's not where you would start naturally, but if you've been playing and you've been in classes and you've been practicing and studying, either at home or in class, whenever, you already have a sense of the music and how you're playing with the music. And if you've been learning the combinations and practicing the combinations, you already have a sense of moving. So this is sort of an advanced progression on a foundation that needs to already be there. I like the question a lot. So thank you for asking. I think just in the moment, as I consider it, besides what I've just said, is that I would tell them to take it slow, don't rush, consider their own timing, be their own metronome, hear it in their head first before they play it. Before the first tone is even played, get a sense of 1, 2, 3. Get your own timing and your own tempo set so that you can stick with that tempo and start from there. Start with perhaps not playing every beat, but playing every other beat. Perhaps even playing just the one beat of a measure, and then play every other beat. First the 1, not the 2, then the 3, not the 4. Play the 1, not the 2, play the 3, not the 4. Let's dance.
And it can be that simple, right? I love that idea. Like you're playing the 1 and the 3 and you dance with that beat, right? Like I think so often people feel like it has to be something really complex and complicated to be interesting. And you make a very good point that it doesn't have to be. It just has to be sort of the accompaniment to your dance and give you that beat that we as dancers need to dance to.
Yes, and it's a nice variety actually to be able to start simple and then have what I call an organic build. We want to always bring through more. So even though it's very exciting to start with this dazzling fill, that's that's a nice option for someone who's very experienced, but in the learning process, it's also wonderful to assure students, as well as ourselves, that we don't need to always start with everything we've got because it doesn't leave any more to build to. Starting really simple and open and bringing through a little more and creating a rhythm and then adding variables to that, either with tonality or with filling in more, dropping out, filling in, going back to simple, filling in, and then building up to filling in, filling in, filling in, and an end, is a nice organic build that brings through more and more energy and holds an audience.
I love that. That is really good. So you've just described like the entire arc of a finger cymbal composition, right? Not in like terms of what rhythms you're playing, because sometimes that's not really the important thing. It's sort of that energetic and emotional arc that's going to draw people in to what you're creating. Yeah.
Yes, because it's true if I were playing 9/8 or 6/8, or if I were playing to a Masmudi or a Melody or a Shiftatelli, the same thing would be true. In fact, I have a drum group. Drumming, I would like to mention drumming. One of the things that really elevated and helped my cymbal playing was learning to play doumbek. And I didn't become an ace doumbek player, but I learned some basics. And learning those basics really made the finger cymbals a lot easier and helped a lot with timing and understanding measures and fill and timing and how you can open up the first half of a measure and fill in the second half of a measure. So the drumming is more complex than the finger cymbals, definitely. And it makes a wonderful foundation, even basic drumming, for excellent Zill work.
Great. I love it. I love it. I would love for you to take a moment to tell folks sort of what other things you're working on, whether it's, drumming, Zill related, or just within the dance as well. That way we get an idea of how we can connect and work with you, watch you, follow you, study with you in the future.
Thank you. I'm steadily making new YouTube clips with finger cymbals, with veil, with combinations, with layering, with the things that I love to share. And so I have this YouTube channel and I'm building my subscriptions steadily. If you're listening, please subscribe. I beseech chime in and subscribe, hit the bell. So besides that, I love working with the veils, and I have them. They're pretty, they're light, they're here. So veil work, combinations. I have workshops that I do with veils, with finger cymbals, with layering, and a variety of things. I like it when dancers can really separate themselves from the melody, which early on many dancers feel they can play and they're playing the melody, but they can't break free from the melody to move in and out of the rhythm. So again, the drumming really helps with that, but it's not essential. Moving in and out of the rhythm, though, is essential. So with a very basic, short vocabulary, my Zill basic vocabulary, I think, is like 5 units or maybe 6 units. The triplet and a 1. 1 and a 2. 1E and a 2. 1E and a 2E and a 3. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. And everything is made out of those mix and match. 1 and a 2, 3E and a 4. It's just and then the tonality changes. So it's really basic. And I was teaching a workshop at one point somewhere in some state, maybe Arizona, and Harry Saroyan, famous maker of Saroyan Mastercraft Zills, we all know and love, that are still available, even though he's passed. He was there selling, and he was a wonderful MC also. So he was MCing the show, but also vending his finger cymbals. And he heard me teaching, and he liked the simple breakdown, which is how I happened to do how to play finger cymbals for him, which he originally produced. And when he passed, I got the rights to it, so it's still available. And then I did a sequel to it, how to belly dance with finger cymbals, because the first one that I did for him was really about our 8 basic rhythms that are the most popular rhythms we dance to, and tonality, and working with live drumming. Actually, it was filmed in this room. Jeremiah Soto of Solace sat right there, and he's on that video. Anyway, it's a wonderful project that I really enjoyed, but I really also wanted to do a sequel to it, which I did. So Belly Dance with Finger Cymbals then starts to put movement with all these different basic combinations, not all, but with these basic 5 or 6 combinations I've just mentioned. They're on my website. And then
Great.
it's yours to keep. You don't rent it or lose it after a month. You download it, it's yours.
Wonderful. I will definitely link to that for people who want to check out those DVDs so that they can study further with you and see, the way that you teach and start to understand and play the finger cymbals with your insight and knowledge, which is fantastic. I have a few sort of rapid fire questions for you if you're game. They're quick and easy little questions just that I like to ask all my Zill heroes. So you're ready. You're ready. I love it. I love it. Okay, here we go. How many pairs of finger cymbals do you own?
What a fun question. Um, I wonder if I know. I'm looking around, but there's more upstairs. There's more. I bet I have 8.
Okay. Do you have a favorite pair right now that you use more often than the others?
Yes, I do. I have these Paiste cymbals. They're a lot like the Zildjians. They're heavyweight. They're not pressed, they're cast. There's a difference. The Saroyans are pressed, and they're all matched tone because they're pressed out of a sheet of beautiful bronze, and these are cast. So they usually come in pairs where the 2 will match, but not a set of 4. They're orchestra cymbals. Sometimes you see them on a string, and they're available on a cord or a rope. They don't have the 2 slots. They weren't invented to make it easy for us. They have a single hole. I pin my Zills. I know that many, even Harry Saroyan himself, recommended sewing them. But for working dancers, you don't have time to do that needle and thread. You have an instant if an elastic breaks, and you just get another pin or a fresh elastic, whatever you need, and it's fast. So I have adopted that method of fastening the elastics. But I like these Pisces. They're thick and heavy, and the reason I like them thick and heavy is because you can always lighten up the volume by playing a little lighter. You want to do a get well and not blow the place apart with your volume, you can play very lightly. But if you are outside or in a noisy restaurant or with a live band, you need some volume, and you can play your hands off with those little finger cymbals and never get volume. So the heavier, thicker, weightier metal gives you that opportunity, and I have been grateful for it so many times. But one night, Eric Paiste, owner of Paiste Cymbals, came to have dinner in the private room with his friends at Dharma Greb, and I was playing in a way that impressed him, and he sent me a complimentary pair. He told me who he was after I finished dancing and said, "I'd like to send you a set of my finger cymbals," and he did. And this is not them. because I later started buying sets and I would go to their factory and I would match pairs. I personally like my Zills to have a matched sound so that when I leave a ring, the harmonic tone is not what you hear. You hear the pure tone. When they're not matched, you get a harmonic blend of two tones, and that's the harmonic. Sometimes it's wonderful to have a different sound. This is, so when you play them, it's going to be da-ga-da, da-ga-da, or da-ga-da, da-ga-da, right?
And that's fun. That's fun because then you're creating like even more intense melody, right? You have different notes and different feelings that come with those different notes. I'm a big fan of playing multiple finger cymbals.
Exactly. And so it's another thing that can happen. It's really fun to do that. And it's a matter of personal taste and style. So, as far as me, I like the tone matched, but I also enjoy hearing it other ways too.
Absolutely. This is so fantastic, Mesmera. I really appreciate your time and your interest and enthusiasm and your knowledge of the musicality of the finger cymbals. I think is so brilliant, and it's something that I want more people to understand and be exposed to because I think it allows us all to get really excited about this challenging instrument that we want to play while we dance. And so I'll definitely be, studying with you in the future and following your YouTube channel. Can you tell people where they can find you? What's the name of your YouTube channel so people can follow you there?
Mesmera, it's under my name, my YouTube channel, and I see there's a heavy metal band named Mesmera. It kind of came along, I don't know when, but they're there. I'm not them.
Okay, just in case there's any confusion.
Right. You'll be able to notice the difference right away.
That's fantastic. So yes, I will definitely put a link to your YouTube channel in the show notes so that people can follow you there, learn from you there, and then all your social media as well so that people can keep up with you and get your instructional videos and continue to study with you and learn more from you. I appreciate your insight and your knowledge. It's been really lovely getting to know you. I can't believe that this is the first time that we've met, and now we'll need to connect in person at some point in time. I do go out to California with some regularity, so I'll have to look you up so we can put on our finger cymbals and jam together. I think it'd be so much fun.
Just what I'm thinking. Let's do that. What fun that would be. I would love to meet with you here or anywhere and play. Do what we
Yes.
love. Share what we love.
Let's do it. We'll make a plan for sure. Thank you so much for your time, Mesmera, and for all of this fantastic information. It's been great geeking out about the finger cymbals with you, and I look forward to playing with you again soon.
Bless your hips. It's been a pleasure to chime in.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, did you love it or did you love it? Is she not the most adorable thing? I absolutely loved speaking with her, and I gained so much insight into how she plays the finger cymbals. And I'm really inspired by the way she talks about how understanding the music, playing the finger cymbals like a percussionist, like a musician, will really allow us to not only tune into the music in a different way, but understand our dance in a better, deeper way as well, right? It's all tied together. It's not belly dance or finger cymbal playing. Like the finger cymbal and the art of playing them is inextricably tied to the dance, and they both inform each other. And you can see that in the way she sort of explained and demonstrated the different patterns that you can play and how you can do that with the dance. So it's really accentuating what it is that the body is doing, which hopefully makes the finger cymbals feel for you like a slightly more natural addition to the dance and not an overly complex layer to put on top of it. I know I will definitely be studying with this woman in the not too distant future, and I think that you should as well. If you enjoyed the things that she shared here today, please follow her on social media, subscribe to her YouTube channel, and check out her website so you can grab her one of her 2 streaming downloads of her finger cymbal videos, and then see what she's got going on in the Zill world in the not too distant future. Thank you so much for joining me for another Zill Hero interview, and I look forward to making music with you again soon.